Hey everybody, and welcome to this episode of Unsealed. I'm Kate Dillon from Crate Insider, and I'm sitting here, of course, with
me,
Steve Hendren from Hendren Racing Engines. Great. So you know what? I'm going to get logged in over here on Facebook, and
I did that already.
Well, I'm logged in, but I'm not like on the show or anything. So because that's
every week there's a delay in you logging in.
You know what? Would you like to handle the tech, Steve Hendren?
Yeah. I know you're not the most tech-savvy person I've ever known.
Oh, so. For God's sake. Yeah, you need to try harder. I don't think I'm logged into Wi-Fi or something. I don't know. We'll see. But tell me, Steve, tell everybody, how was your week?
Oh, busier than hell, as usual. So, about it.
Good problem to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty busy.
Still a month behind?
Yeah, I'm still a month behind.
Well, I know it. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's kind of bewildering to me, actually, because normally in an election year we're slow. So.
Well, speaking of it being an election year...
I'm not going to complain about being busy, but...
Well, speaking of an election year, I already know the answer to this question, but did you catch the debate on Thursday night?
Oh, yeah.
Again, like I said, I already knew the answer to that question. Hey, what were some of your favorite moments of the debate?
When Joe Biden said he was going to completely dismantle the oil industry.
Yeah.
Right there at the end. I mean, that was honestly...
he'll work it out.
I mean, he was stuttering throughout the whole thing, but like right there at the end, Trump actually caught him, and caught him pretty good. So
I'm gonna have to agree with you, and
hopefully everybody in Texas and Oklahoma and Ohio and Pennsylvania and West Virginia and Virginia and Louisiana, everybody that has anything to do with the oil industry, Alaska, whatever, they're gonna remember that.
Well, I think we also need to think about literally every single race car driver.
Well, every race car driver, everything from injection molding plants to I don't know, the cars you drive down the road and need oil in and gas and everything else. It's quite a statement he made there.
Well, do you remember a few years ago when gas, right after the crash, the 2008 crash, that gas went up to about $4 a gallon?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty devastating for a lot of people.
Oh, absolutely.
I know,
trucking industry.
Well, I mean, even though I lived in town, I started to, well, I didn't live in this town, but it's when I lived in Boise, and I started taking the bus to, just because it was just such a big dent, and everybody was just trying to do what they could just to save a few dollars.
Oh yeah.
So it was pretty major. And I have a question too, because I'm curious about how this plexiglass, which I'm not 100% convinced is going to, be the Kevlar against coronavirus, but I'm really curious about how you make plexiglass if you don't have the oil industry. But I don't know. I guess they'll work it out. They'll work it out.
I don't know how you make solar. I don't know how you make solar panels without the oil industry.
You absolutely cannot.
Or wind turbines.
Oh, well, you need a whole lot of oil.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea how much oil it takes to run a wind turbine?
It's
a ridiculous
120 gallons or something in each one of those things, or some crazy amount of oil.
It's a lot. Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot. So
anyways, that was the funniest part of the debate to me.
I would agree.
When Trump pretty much burned his ass on that deal.
Yeah.
And the rest of the time, I mean, if you're like on the left, I mean,
You're not really watching our show, probably.
Well, you're not watching our show, but I mean, you could be left leaning, but I mean, for the
I'm left leaning on plenty of things.
I am too, but I mean, for the most part, I mean, like, wow, like all the liberal news industries, like, oh, Joe Biden won the debate. Well, I think that their gauge on that was that he showed up, number one, and number two, he only said something stupid like right at the end. The rest of the time, he just kind of, did his normal politician deal.
There were a couple of times though he was like looking completely dumbfounded, and all right. I mean, conspiracy. This is our show, so one of the craziest theories is that now there's these contact lenses that can have a computer in them. So one theory is that Joe had computer contact lenses
wouldn't have worked.
And that's why he wasn't really listening when Trump said, the president since Abraham Lincoln, and then later he called him Abraham Lincoln, and it was just Yeah. Semantics.
Dude's got Alzheimer's. There's no way he can like use contact lenses.
Yep. All right, so we got some folks on here, and we're going to weigh in with some comments.
Yeah.
I see Lily's here. Says, hi, you two. Hope all is well. Everything's great here. Scott's hi from California. Spring forward, fall back. Oh, that must be, is that tonight?
I think is it next weekend? Yeah, it's next. It's like, I think it's like on Halloween. Right?
Really? Wow.
So Saturday. And then it's like a full moon.
Oh, no, it already happened.
Because
he says, spring forward, fall back, being the good, dutiful husband, I got up early, went through the house, and set the clocks back an hour. Yeah, you know the rest. Huh.
No.
I don't know. I mean, I'm so
I gotta Google this shit, because there's no way. I think it's next weekend.
I don't know. You know what would work? Is
of course he's in California, so they may have just done it to, I mean...
Well, I don't know. Here's how I'll be able to check. Is when I go turn on my car, because my clock is always right in my car. Like, I set it twice a year. Yours is always wrong, but mine is right. So if I go out there and my car doesn't match my phone, then I'll know it happened. All right. Okay. And I will get to, David's got a good tech question. I'll get to that. We're going to do our intros here. So you have Mark here from saying hello from Greenville Pickens. That's great. Brian is here from Idaho. Well, you know,
Sunday, November 1st.
Oh, okay.
So you went a week too fast. So you might be like you can show up to work early tomorrow, I guess.
Yeah, I was wondering why I woke up early this morning though. Let's see. David says we're still drilling wells in Louisiana and Texas, but it's cool. Brian's here from Idaho. Yep. Of course, that's where I lived for quite a few years. Right. I love Idaho. And Trevor says, hello guys, how are you? Hope you guys had a great weekend. I did, getting ready to leave out for Charlotte in 2 days. Yeah, that's going to be a big thing. And Gary did say it's next week. So we do have a good tech question here that I'd love for you to weigh in on. So David is asking, what are your recommendations on putting your motor to bed for the winter?
I mean, normally what we'll do is, obviously it has a lot to do with the climate you're in, but obviously if you're in a colder place and your shop isn't, heated or whatever, then number one, drain the water out of everything. Number two, like normally what we'll do is start the engine up, and we actually, with the engine running, we'll actually start pouring a little bit of oil down the carburetor. About a half a quart. It's going to, foul the plugs out. Your shop's going to be filled with smoke, but the engine's going to be completely, lubricated to where nothing's going to rust, during the wintertime.
Yeah, and then draining that water out so you don't crack the block. You mentioned that already.
Yeah.
Really, really important there.
Well, yeah, that's the number one thing people actually usually forget.
Yeah, and then,
even if it is climate controlled, it's still a good idea if your shop is climate controlled, it's still a good idea to drain it out, because, you don't want to have a power outage and, 3 days later your block's broken off.
Well, and here's a question too. So with that, once you do all of those things, would you recommend taking the headers off and sealing up the exhaust ports and sealing up the intake port intake manifold?
You can, especially if you have any like a shop where you've got a bunch of crazy rabid squirrels running around trying to fill your exhaust pipes full of acorns or something crazy. So
have you seen? That sounds like too.
No, I've seen it.
Spot on to have not have happened.
I've seen
you
it.
Have seen
yeah,
that.
I've seen that.
Wow, that's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, I've seen squirrels and mud daubers and everything else fill all sorts of holes up in engines.
Wow, that's pretty wild. There was actually something I was tagged in earlier today, and I responded, and I think it'd be interesting for you to weigh in. I'm going to go on over there to it, but this is over on Street Stock Help Source here, and I just have to find it really quick here. But the question was, somebody was asking, hey, I'm hearing a lot about these Hendren engines. So what's the difference between a Hendren 602 versus one that's just straight out of the crate?
No, normally on the ones out of the crate on 602s, we won't normally do like what we do with the 604s. 604s, we take those completely apart and go through them. 602s, I don't necessarily recommend doing that just because of the price of the engine versus what it's going to cost for us to do, everything to one, blueprint one completely per se. So the most we'll do is basically the top end on them. Take the heads off, fix the inherent issue with them, which is the valve job from GM, and then get the combustion chamber volume right, and pop the heads back on, reseal it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really the only difference.
Yeah, I had somebody on here.
Again, like I always say, we do what GM can't do, and we make them all equal. So.
Well, there was somebody on here. Oh, I think I'm about there, because there's somebody of course saying, "Hey, what's the point of a cheater crate?"
Yeah.
And somebody else
have
is
a
like,
jackass in the crowd.
"If the damn thing isn't bottle cap sealed directly from GM and untouched, other than oil changes and valve springs, they're cheated up. The idea of running a crate is to not open them up and change anything. The minute you do, it's just one really expensive built motor."
So if you're like a dude who gets a 602 from GM, who's unfortunate enough to have one that does not have a 45-degree angle on the intake valve seat, which we've seen probably in the last year and a half, probably about 30 or 40 of these that were just like that, with no intake valve seat, no 45-degree angle valve seat on the intake valve seat. If you're one of those unlucky guys, guess what? You still own the pile of shit.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't take it back to GM and ram it up their ass and try to get it warranted, because they're not going to do anything for you. So, you know what? What's your option? Your option is to have me fix it, or somebody like us that does the same thing we do fix it. So fuck that guy. He's an idiot.
Yeah. Well, I could tell he just was uninformed, and I tried to post an interview, and at some point I just gave up. He just.
That's why I don't subscribe to any of those groups and all that shit. I just ignore all that stuff, because I will go mental on people that have no common sense.
Well, I think the other thing, the important thing to look at here also is it really depends on your series. And it depends. I mean, there are series like IMCA that have like IMCA seals before they ever leave the dealership, and that's just a case where you or any other rebuilder isn't really allowed to.
I was actually disappointed in myself the other night, because I got tagged in some deal, and I don't know. I was just in a bad mood from the day, I guess, and I actually went on and commented on it.
You
like
did?
one of those group things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Of course, it was one of those dipshits that we know his name for forever, because he's always on there making stupid and ridiculous comments on everything. So I pretty much lit his ass up.
Yeah. Yeah. So I see that we've now come to terms with the back to the time change situation. Apparently, Scott did that on purpose. And his wife was not too happy about the clocks changed a week early.
Okay. That's pretty funny, actually.
That is great. Earl asked a question. He says, "Can you reseal one with bottle caps?" I know the answer to that.
No, you cannot. Those seals are only available from GM.
The bottle caps
are. The bottle caps. Yeah. The actual correct ones are, yeah. So, no, what we use is a series seal. So, we're certified through different series to reseal engines, primarily through Crate Racing USA, Rush, the Mid-East Modifieds. Mm-hmm. A couple other different, fuel series, stuff like that for 525s.
Yes. So yeah, you're certified through multiple different series.
Yeah.
And then you put on those series seals. And it actually,
correct. And everything that we do to these engines has to remain 100% within GM spec.
Yes.
So it's not like we're, like this asshole said that you were reading there earlier. They're all cheated up. No, they're not.
Well, I mean, let's talk about the penalties. What happens if you cheat one up? And because the thing is, you can be protested.
For everybody I deal with on series seals, it's one and done. So you get busted doing something stupid, or even if you make a mistake and you didn't mean to, you're done. I mean, that's it. There's no second chances.
Yeah.
So anybody who really does quite a few engines and seals engines is just not worth, cheating one up. So.
Yes. Well, I mean, I think it's a very important distinction, because I think somebody else somewhere was like, "Hey, if I put my money on the counter and I want my engine builder to do something, he better damn well do it," or
I'd tell him get lost.
Because you're gonna lose your house over it if you cheat up.
I don't give a shit how much money a dude wants to throw my way.
Yes, because it's not worth it in the long to deal there. Dave asked, he says, "Steve, you should do a video on a valve job on a bad seat to show everyone." Yeah,
I should actually. Now, what I can say is, since they've changed vendors on their cylinder heads, the ones that have come through, they actually have 45-degree angle valve seats, but they're honestly not within spec from GM, so surprise.
Well, that's not really a surprise. But, I mean, with the not being in spec with GM, Does that also mean that you would take the chance as a racer to buy a brand new engine and have it called illegal because it's not?
No, because if it is a bottle cap sealed engine, and obviously it's in a tech situation where you're going to find out whether it's been tampered with or not in any way, and if it hasn't been, then no, it's a GM motor that's out of spec, and that's on GM, not on the driver, and you're not going to get thrown out for it.
Well, it's an important distinction because you've also seen a few intake manifolds over the course of time that are a little on the sketchy end, but they were brand new.
Intake manifolds are usually the hardest thing to tech in any of this stuff, either 604 or 602.
Mm-hmm.
So the one thing that we do have available to us, not only from a series standpoint or engine builders or whatever, I guess everybody really, is you can send a part back to GM and they can run it on a CMM machine and certify that it's actually within GM spec.
Oh, that's new. How long does that take?
That's not new. It's been going around forever. I mean, it's been going on since they started the program.
Oh, but how long does that take?
Like one of our heads got sent back to them. Gosh, it was probably 2007, 2008, something like that. I think it was like a week.
Oh, okay.
We had an answer, got a report and everything. So
Oh.
obviously within spec. So.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Brad's got a good question. He says, y'all recommend paper air filters or to clean and re-oil?
I mean, there's nothing wrong with paper filters, honestly. I mean, I used them for years. I used to use the Wix Napa Gold air filter for years, and I don't have a problem with those so long as you're changing them often. But really, I mean, the best deal probably right now is going to be that Walker filter that you sell.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I love my Walker
which is obviously cleanable, and then you re-oil it.
Yeah.
And it's not like a K&N where you like have to slather an assload of oil on it to make it actually filter. It requires very little oil.
Yeah, you actually don't want to over oil it, otherwise you're just going to create
otherwise it'll be a
filtration
K&N.
issues. Oh, that's funny. I see Christopher saying, Trump, Trump, Trump. Yeah, we don't have our Trump t-shirts on today.
No, it's actually a little nipply out here. So
I'm actually perfectly warm, but I've been busy all day today. I'm busy doing Kate things.
I was busy.
Yeah. Yes, he's going to get a beer now and coming back, and you can tell us a little bit about the hoodie you're wearing. Give a little shout out.
Just my Pro Fab hoodie.
Yeah, but you can give a little shout out.
It's my standard work attire usually.
Yeah, you do love that Pro Fab hoodie.
I do, actually.
Yeah.
Really cool.
That reminds me, Pro Fab, of course, is going to be part of our Cars Racing show.
Yes, they are.
Because I can't do a show without talking about the Cars Racing show.
Right.
Can't do it. You just can't do it. Really excited, you guys. Coming up December 11th and 12th. If you can make your way to North Carolina, we'd love to have you at this racing trade show. What's really cool, though, is Pro Fab in their booth. They've worked so much with toy makers. Mm-hmm. They're going to have the Toy Makers TV show in their booth working together. Yeah, I think that's super cool. I've been having fun kind of interacting with them over on Instagram.
I wonder if we can get those guys to flip their car over when they leave the convention on the last day again, like they did at PRI.
But you know what? They've fixed it now, and depending on how much room we have in the show, there may be an opportunity for us to bring that car.
I'm quite sure everybody saw the video at PRI where they left out of the convention center.
Hey, look, I'm cool. What?
Went ripping down the street and then crashed and flipped over.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was them.
Yeah. Okay, let me see. Dave says, I purchased a new 602B crate engine, ran it 2 years, then had a well-known rebuilder go over it and do all legal work for my division and didn't see a difference.
Well, then you probably had a really good engine out of the box, to be honest with you. I mean, it does happen. I mean, at no point have me or anybody else said that all engines from GM are horrible. They're not. I mean, that's not the case. So, I mean, you probably had a good one.
Yeah. All right.
And honestly, I mean, we shouldn't notice a hell of a big difference in any of this stuff, especially if it's just a freshen up job.
Yeah.
So.
All right. We're about to bring some drama to the show. I see Gary's asking, he says, what was the deal with the rings last weekend? So let me do the catch up here. Is that there was a big race. The top 3 engines were torn down. And one of those engines had piston rings that were not the standard or not the genuine GM piston rings. That is automatically illegal because it's a GM part. Whether
It's not a GM part. That's why it was illegal.
Right. Yeah. Because you absolutely have to use original GM parts when you're putting these engines back together. So
Right.
I guess that's.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the scenario or how they got in there or why, or I won't even speak to that. But essentially, what it came down to is, yeah, it was essentially a Molly ring rather than a GM ring. Now, does Molly make the rings for GM? I think they do. But it's, even though it was probably, you know, I'd have to look at it. I honestly haven't seen the ring, and nobody's brought it to me to show it to me or anything like that, and I don't expect them to because it's the series call, not mine, on any of this stuff. But yeah, so I think it was a Molly ring. I know that. I did see a picture of it, and I mean, that's essentially what it came down to. I mean, unfortunately, I mean, years and years ago, with Fast Track, I mean, I had to throw Mike Pegger out at the Fast Track 50,000 win, or I mean, it was their points deal, but he would have won the points, and I had to toss him out for 50 grand because they had the wrong rings in it from whatever rebuilder they did it for them.
Well, and then
And it's not a situation, I think, where the racer's like, hey, put those rings in my engine.
No.
I just think it was a fuck
sounds
up
like
by
a
somebody.
mistake. Well, and the important thing to know about what's legal and what's not, it doesn't matter. It's like, I came from architecture. So I would say, hey, paint the wall, paint the wall Sherwin-Williams, Robin Eggs blue, or approved equal. That's a type of like a performance spec. But this is not that. This is complying with the yellow book.
Correct.
The yellow book is the book where it has
The
all
Bible
the it's exactly, and it comes from GM, and it lists out all of the parts that are within that engine, and anything. It doesn't matter if it's the same. What matters is that it's, what does it say in the yellow book.
Yeah.
So that's important. All right, so we got some more questions here. Oh gosh, lots of questions. All right, so Thomas says, Dyno wise, Pro Fab versus Beyea, is it worth a substantial price difference? Okay, so we're talking about 604 crate lay model because we don't always have the same headers on all the things.
Yeah, I mean, Pro Fab basically does stuff for the late models and no mods or anything like that. I mean, they've done a couple sets for mods, but it's just like one-off stuff. But yeah, I mean, dyno wise, you're going to see a difference where it's more noticeable is on the racetrack. So what I can tell you is I have yet to have one customer bolt a set of Pro Fabs on and say they did not notice a difference on the racetrack. So dyno numbers are one thing, racetrack results are a totally different thing.
Yep.
And we kind of, I've made power on the dyno and been, man, this is going to be great. And then me personally driving the car went like, wow, this won't run out of a shower of shit. So you have to have both work together.
Okay, Brad asks, is a traction shock needed on a crate setup?
We use them. Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Patrick says we have...
Now, years ago I didn't. My own personal stuff I didn't. But back in those days I was running Z-Link and stuff. I mean, some crazy rear suspension stuff, so I didn't use them. But yeah, I mean, on most of the 4-bar stuff, most places, then yeah, I would say you definitely want a traction shock.
And why do you use a traction shock?
Well, essentially what we're using it for now is hold the car up in the air.
Okay.
So.
There's a lot of that.
Yeah.
The whole like car up in the air. Yeah. Okay, so Patrick says we have a travel restriction here in New York. Lots of teams here have said they can't go. It just sucks. Completely agree. I mean, hopefully that is lifted at some point. I know that it's interesting that it's because of that travel restriction that the big blocks are not coming down to the dirt track at Charlotte. That's why World Finals.
World Finals.
Yeah, World Finals is now the last chance race or something now.
I don't know. It's 4 days.
It's 4 days instead of 3 with 2 divisions. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not going, I can tell you that.
Well, I'm not either because I'm going to the World Short Track Championships the weekend before. So
right.
I'll be down in Charlotte next weekend. We'll probably go on Friday, but the weather's looking a little sketchy. Yeah. But still, we'll still go down Friday. We'll be there Friday, Saturday, and leave on Sunday. So
now, how do they enforce that travel restriction? I mean, are there highway patrol like parked on every entrance into New York, like busting people as they come in and making them quarantine for 2 weeks, or is it just the honor system? I have no idea.
Maybe it's an app on their phones.
If you downloaded that, you're not very smart, but okay.
I'm just saying. I mean, it might be one of those things. I don't know. I would like to know for sure.
Because what I can tell you, right now in our area, we got a ton of Yankees down here from New York.
Yeah.
Hanging out in North Carolina.
We do.
This travel restriction thing, I don't.
Well, you know what? You know what'll happen is you just can't take the chance because you get back, and you could live. You know, there could be a Karen 3 blocks away, but she'll notice that you're
right.
She'll notice that
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
why were the Nazis so successful?
You got a bunch of Karens up there.
You got a bunch of Karens, or I guess what would you call them? Cuomo sympathizers?
Yeah, something like that.
Pretty much. Okay. All right. So let's see. Chuck says hi. Hey there, Chuck. Earl says, we have a tech guy that claims just by rebuilding a 602, you gain 40 horsepower. How full of shit is he?
Your tech man is complete and total moron. So,
it's 100%. Simply not true. It's just not true.
He's a complete and total idiot. And he should not be a tech man.
Not with that type of information.
No, not with that type of conspiracy theory.
Well, you know, that type of information is the reason why we started Crate Insider like 7 years ago.
Absolutely.
Is because we want to dispel all those myths and rumors and the straight up lies that happen. And, you know, especially with anything performance related, it's always based on data. Oh my God, I feel like I'm sounding like one of those, like, we're following the science kind of people. But no, I mean, we base it on data. We're not just saying, well, I don't know, that sounds a little bit better than it did before. Must be 50 more horsepower.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've heard all sorts of crazy numbers, and I mean, you even get some engine builders running around saying, oh, I can, explore the gray area and get you more horsepower than anybody else, and dipshits like that, so.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon. But anyways, yeah, your tech man's a total moron. So tell him to quit teching and, I don't know, go to work at McDonald's, because that's about what he's qualified to do.
All right, so Patrick says, do those pre-filters hurt engine performance? I have a version of pre-filters, but did you want to say something first?
No, I don't think so. Number one, I mean, I don't think they don't restrict flow enough to worry much about, honestly. I don't run them.
Well,
because I want the filter to do its job.
And that's just it. So an important thing to know, and I've heard this from air filtration manufacturers, is that the purpose of a pre-filter, a lot of people think it's going to filter out some of the dust. But the truth is, it doesn't have any dirt trapping ability. So what it's really good for is if you have mud coming onto your, coming up your car. Maybe it's like one of these times where they about water out the race, or with the water truck.
Rain the race
and you got mud coming up, and you don't want to get that into your filter. Perfect reason to be using a pre-filter.
But you should have a scoop in front of it, and it shouldn't be a problem anyway. So.
Okay. Otherwise, what'll happen is if you just have a dust situation, that's what a filter is built for. And so with your pre-filter, it's really just restricting the flow, and it's reducing your performance. So if you kind of want the best of both worlds, where you do want some type of a pre-filter situation or dirt trapping, we do now have the foam pre-filters that were made so that, like, if rocks come up, it's not going to just totally pummel your air filter, and it can have a little bit of dust trapping ability as well.
I won't run one of those because they're just goofy looking. So.
Wow. The vanity.
Well, vanity. Yeah, I mean, at a certain point.
I thought they looked cool.
I
think they look cool. I think it looks cool. Yeah. Okay. Dave says, out-of-state drivers, guys, must be back in New York. And Patrick says, they have you report where you're going and when you come back. I've heard they just ping your phone, and Cuomo sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like it was pretty strict.
Yeah, I don't know how all that shit works, honestly. The whole... Well, I'd go back to a flip phone if they can ping your phone and find out where you've been, but that's just me.
It's the truth. It's truth. I think they probably still have some of those, what was it, Cricket or something at Walmart?
I mean, all you gotta do is leave your normal phone at home and buy a burner.
Yeah.
You can go where the hell you want to go. Because I'm telling you, there's a lot of people from New York down here right now.
Yes. Yes, there are. Yeah. It's a crazy deal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the solution to that is, but I don't know that it helps much. Although that's how the virus got to our area. Back in March was a couple of New Yorkers came down.
Yeah,
I mean,
they went to
Asheville and here.
the cult church.
Yeah,
down the road here.
yeah, they did. Yeah, yes, they did. Hey, you know what I did?
Everybody's gonna get the shit anyway, so what does it matter?
There you go.
I mean, Jesus Christ.
Quit it. Your attitude is going to kill Grandma.
I'm a murderer.
You're a murderer. Yeah, alrighty. Okay, so on with the more race car things.
Yes.
Chuck says, okay, on a flat base air filter, to get it up above the hood, does it matter how far off the carb it is? Any performance gain or loss with a wider spacer?
Thicker spacer underneath the flat base. Honestly, I mean, we've run that flat base from just the standard, what's that? I don't know what thickness that ring is.
It's a half-inch.
Half-inch ring.
Yeah.
I think most we've tried it with is an inch, and I didn't see really any difference between an inch and a half inch. We haven't tried anything beyond that, so I honestly can't tell you. Like on the old style drop base stuff that we used to use, we had like 2.5 inches of spacer under it.
Well, that makes sense.
And that actually helped. But.
Well, because then what you're trying to do there was you were basically trying to raise the base up to get a higher velocity from from the air filter into the intake manifold. So, because of course I had that explained to me.
More direct airflow.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Excellent. Okay. And Patrick says, "Don't work worth a shit." So there we go. Oh, because somebody else has tried it. All right, Alton's got a great question for you, Steve. He says, "What's your favorite beer?"
Stella Artois.
I think there's I think there's one even more better.
Yeah, my ultimate favorite beer in the entire world, which probably due to the fact when I used to race in Australia and that's what we drank, was Victorian Bitter, so VB. Mm-hmm. VB's number 1, Stella Artois is number 2.
Dave says he loves our show. It's awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for being here. My goodness. I appreciate it.
We love that you love our show.
Yep. Yes. And I love that you love that we love. All right, Chris says, are y'all being invaded by New Yorkers too? Over here in Georgia, we are being invaded big time. Not cool.
Yeah, oh yeah, they're all over the place right now.
I like them just fine. I like them.
Yeah, I mean, like other than the loud ones at the bar or something like that. But you'll have that. We got loud rednecks too, so it really doesn't matter. You know,
it's interesting, the trend that I've seen, like when this thing first started.
Just the accent can get annoying sometimes.
Okay. Anyway, I've seen a little slightly different trend than I would have expected anyway, because I have an Airbnb and I rent out. And I'm finding it so interesting that so many people are taking little short vacations not very far from home. Mm-hmm. So I've had a lot of North Carolinians who have stayed here and they want to check out and be close to the mountains and go hiking and things like that. Although before, like March through June, I was getting out of towners or out of state, people from out of state.
Yeah, including what was that guy's name that stayed with you? Chuck. Yeah, he stayed with you
was from the Hamptons in New York. There, he rented out his house for the summer. And so it was cheap. It was still cheaper for him to come to North Carolina and rent my little place.
Well, his daughter was close by too, so he came to where he can ride around.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. But it's just an interesting trend that I've seen. People are sticking a little bit closer to home. Yep. And I guess, it's fall and it's beautiful here. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Great. Okay. Patrick says we're not all that bad. Okay.
I do know a few good Yankees.
Yes, we know quite a few.
Sorry.
I mean, we were just in Pittsburgh just a few weeks ago, and just had a wonderful time. We didn't see any of our New York friends.
I look forward to going up there every year. Yeah, we missed all our New York friends, like Waters and Robertsons, and all them didn't show up. But
I agree. Okay, so Brett asks, Avgas for a 602, what's your opinion?
No. Nope.
Nope.
I'm not an Avgas fan.
And tell us why you're not an Avgas fan.
Avgas does not produce the BTUs at low altitude in order to produce power. It's designed to actually run at altitude, not, 1,700 feet.
Yeah.
So, no. If it's your only choice, then so be it. But, no, there's so much stuff out there that's way better than Avgas.
All right, Anthony says, hi, from the voice of Richmond Raceway and Rock Castle Speedway, Kentucky.
There you go.
He said, Natty Light's the best beer. Caution. Okay,
I do drink Natural Light sometimes.
A lot. You drink a lot of Natural Light.
I got a good friend of mine. We go over there for pool parties during the summer and everything, and that's pretty much the beer of choice for everybody because, you can literally drink a case by yourself and not get drunk. So.
But I have to tell a funny story. So, when I was just getting, we had a party, like, for like a little
Oh
birthday
God,
party
yeah,
for me.
that's right.
And we were actually doing it as a whiskey tasting party. And we were drinking beer. And at some point, like, I'm just not a big drinker. I'm more of like, I love being the hostess and serving people alcohol. So at some point, we run out of beer. And I'd heard them talk about, like, natty daddies and stuff. So anyway, I got to the store and, I know they all drink Natural Light. I see this box with Natty Daddy on it. So I grab a case of that and bring it back. And they're like, what did you do? Why did you bring this? I'm like, what do you mean? I mean, you guys all drink, like, Natural Light. I thought this was just like I don't know, like a nickname for like Natty Daddies are the nickname for Natural Light. Apparently not. So nobody would drink it. And you know what I've been using it for?
Well, you left it next door for the Mexican guys that rented your apartment. And they drank some of it, didn't they?
Well, no.
Oh, no, they wouldn't drink it.
No,
at
that
all.
was a totally different deal.
Oh, okay.
What I've been doing with it is when I have my farmer's market sausage and I'm going to boil it, I put a can of beer in there. Yeah. So I'm using it as I've made beer cheese out of it. Yeah. So beer cheese, it's actually good for that. But yeah.
That's about all that shit's good for. Holy crap.
I thought that was pretty fun. Pretty fun. Okay, let's see what we got here. And Bobby says, hey, Kate and Steve, question for Steve. Someone was selling a 602 crate and stated it was fogged. Not sure what they were talking about. Have you heard of it? Thanks.
I've never heard of that.
Well, isn't that
unless it's something where, like winterized, like some people will call it fogging the engine or
See,
whatever.
That's what I thought it was.
That could be what they were saying, is it's been, oil dumped down it, basically.
Yeah, and in case you missed the first part of our show today, Bobby, we were talking about winterizing an engine, and what Steve recommends is that you pour oil, about a half a quart, down the carburetor, and
as the engine's running.
And then it's going to blow out this terrible smoke, and then you want to drain the water out of it, and then it's ready to be stored for the winter.
So that may have been what they're referring to.
Yep. All right, Earl says, so on the air cleaner, would you rather run a drop base and use a spacer? I kind of missed your response.
No, do not run a drop base. That flat base she's got is the best thing out there. If you're running especially if you're running a billet center section. It makes a little bit of a difference on the HP style center section, so it's a gain over the drop base. But the main gain is going to be if you're running a billet style center section.
Yeah. And the drop base was really like the older technology. We haven't used drop bases now in a few years.
No.
And actually I have a great video on that with Don Blackshear, and we're talking about why a flat air filter base will create more power than a dropped base, at least with what we're doing with 602s and 604s.
Exactly. Yep.
Yes. And Tim, let's see. Tim
fog
says
for
fog
storage,
for storage, yeah. Earl says, not sure if you can order it, but we have a beer made in Vermont called Switchback. Nothing better.
Ooh.
Switchback. That sounds interesting.
Sounds very interesting. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of good beers all over the place, honestly. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to travel in a lot of places in Europe, and I'll tell you, there's a lot of damn good beer over there.
You know what else there's a lot of good of?
There's a lot of good beer around here, too. I mean, North Carolina's, we got quite a microbrew culture thing, I guess, around here, and...
Well, I mean, we've got not only do we have breweries, we have a distillery, and we have wineries.
Well, yeah, we got a ton of wineries.
And, actually there was a question I had. Someone come into the area here recently was asking me for suggestions on wineries. So I might have to, Steve, I think we're going to have to do some research. We're going to have to do some winery research.
Go wine tasting?
Yeah.
If I have to.
Yes, you poor thing. You poor thing. I just feel like I need to be more informed about our area so I can be a nice tour guide.
Yeah, and got to try all the wine, so you like give them wine recommendations. And
of course.
I mean, that one place we went to, that Russian Chapel Hills, is good as hell.
Love that one. I've been to Parker Bins quite a few times. There's also was it Burnt Shirt up in Lake Lure. Yep, went up there with my friend Lori. So there we go. All right. So Dave says, what about the top? Center, drop, or flat?
The top, honestly, I haven't noticed a difference. So it's whatever you want to look over the top of. Usually with the flat base, it raises the air cleaner up high enough where you kind of want that flat top so you can see over the top of it. Because like a domed top is going to add another inch
That's the last
to what you got to look over.
Yeah.
So it just depends on what you want to look over the top of. But I've seen no difference dyno testing wise in any of the tops.
Yep. Oh, Tori's here, and she says she volunteers. She says, I'll do it. I'm a good taste tester. See, I know. I mean, Tori's my go-to. Anytime I need something.
And you're referring to your evil assistant, Tori.
I am, because she's amazing. My amazing evil assistant. Yes, she's awesome. Kirk is here. He says, what's up? We had a good chat this week. Kirk Loudy from Envy Suspension.
Good.
So I think he's going to teach me a little bit about shocks.
Cool. Is he coming to the trade show?
He can't.
Oh, that's right. He's got that other thing going on.
Yep. And they're actually shooting that live. I wasn't sure if they were shooting it live. And I thought they were doing it dates after ours, but it's not. It's the exact same date. Yep. So we missed out on that, unfortunately. All right, Chris says, back in the day, me and my buddies would scrape together all our money for beer, and it was like, hey, we got enough for a 6-pack of Bud, or we can get a case of Milwaukee's Best. God, we drank so much of that nasty shit water that we are immune to COVID-19.
I guarantee
for sure.
you, if you drank that back in the day, you are immune to COVID and everything else that's out there.
Oh, man.
Actually, the very first time I ever got drunk on beer was on Milwaukee Best.
And
it was warm because my buddy had it in the trunk of his car all day at school.
That is so bad. Oh, that is so gross. Although, it's a really a toss-up between which is worse, and that would be Milwaukee's Best or Keystone.
Now, I drank some Keystones while I was up in Pittsburgh.
Oh, God. Maybe it's gotten better in the last 30 years, but...
It was a bit rank, but I
it's
what was available. So
it came out in the late 80s, and I was in high school back then, and I just remember it being like the most god-awful, worst beer I'd ever had in my whole life, ever.
Hey, I never looked down my nose at a free beer, so it was free.
I can relate here. We would bring our money together.
That was the Gunn family providing us with Keystones up there. By the way.
Yes, well, I'm not trying to insult anybody. I just really didn't like that beer 30 years ago, and maybe it's gotten better. But, talking about what you would pick, when I was a kid or when I was in high school and we were shopping for beer, I think it was $6, and it was for a case of Hohenstein.
Oh, yeah, you were in Minnesota, so you got these off-brand pseudo-German beers.
Hohenstein! Hohenstein is the awesome beer. I lived in a small town of about 15,000 people that at one time had 2 breweries in it. It was so German that they set up a National Guard post during World War I. Yeah, it's that German. It's that German. Yeah, so if you wonder why there's like sauerkraut around here, that's why. It's that German.
Well,
yes.
Because you're Nazi lineage.
You're being bigoted right now. Should I be offended? Because I'm really not. All right, so Dennis asks, hey, Kate, Steve, what is the best air cleaner and base for the 4412 2-barrel carburetor? By the way, Steve, the BB is on its way.
Oh, yes, sir. You freaking rock.
So but it's, this, back to the 4412 2-barrel carburetor, what have you found? Because I'm still waiting for, finding the best solution here.
Really, I haven't.
I haven't either. I've even tried to design something and work with some engineers to try to come up with something.
Years and years ago, back when, and I hate to even mention their name here on our show, is years ago we dealt with R2C, and they actually had a really good air cleaner base. Since then, honestly, I haven't done a whole lot of 2-barrel stuff, so I really don't have a good, solution as far as the 2-barrel stuff goes. Who I would talk to, actually, is probably Willie at Willie's Carburetors and Dyno Service. He probably has some good information on 2-barrel air cleaner bases.
Good idea. And if I don't talk to him before then, I know I'll see him at the Cars Racing show.
Yeah,
so
we will.
I'll talk with him about that.
Sorry, I don't have an answer for your question, but I haven't done enough research to even give you an answer.
Yeah.
So I would definitely, it'd be worth an email or a phone call to him to probably see, what he recommends.
We have some more beer opinions here. Or
Okay.
should we call them beer opinions?
Beer opinions.
Beer opinions. Or beer opinions of the day. Kirk says a nasty light is as bad. Chuck says Pabst Blue Ribbon was nasty.
I agree 100%.
I'm not going to disagree with that one. And Alton says, I'll bring you some Red Oak beer to try.
All right, cool.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Is it a red beer?
I don't know. Red Oak doesn't necessarily. That could just be the name of it.
It could be the name of it, but
yeah. Yeah, be interesting.
I like red beers. So.
Oh. I used to like red beers. remember when like Iron Hook came out in the 90s. I really liked that one for a little while. That was my beer of choice for a little while. And then I discovered vodka, and I just never really looked back.
There's that.
There's that. Yeah, lots of good vodkas out there, for sure. I would have to say. That's more of my usual drink of choice. Oh, and Alton says it's an amber. So it's
an amber,
the red oak
Good.
is an amber. Yeah. You really like some ambers, too.
Yeah, I love like amber box and different. That amber box ultra is good. And, hell, I've had a lot of good ambers.
So what's
that one down at Amendment 21 where we go on Tuesday nights?
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it though. It's really good. It's really nice.
So what's in the kegerator right now? Of course, we have a kegerator here.
Well, everybody drank all the beer in the kegerator. That's why I'm drinking out of the bottle right now.
Oh, I thought you had an amber or something.
No.
Oh, no, the amber Bock is the one you've been drinking at Amendment. Oh, I didn't realize this one was empty too.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, all the alcoholics that came to my birthday party drank all the beer.
Yeah, we had quite the birthday party. Yes. So I've been.
Starts at 6 and everybody's too drunk to stay there past 11, so everybody's gone.
I know, and there was a lot of food, so there's no excuses.
Well, when we ran out of beer, everybody switched to liquor and moonshine. So.
Yeah. Okay, then now that explains so much.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's what happened.
Yeah, because there was a moonshine station. Because every party needs a moonshine station in my book. Yep. All the things is what I like to say. I think we got more comments here. Hope we just have more people watching. My goodness, we got a lot of people on the show this week.
Yeah, it looks that way.
Yeah. So are you going to vote early?
If I get time, I'll go vote this week. If not, I'll just wait till election day.
Yeah, I think I might go because it's just so convenient for me. It's only like a half mile away. So I might just, take a few minutes and run up there. I did my research, though.
I don't like waiting in line, so.
I am not a big fan of that either. I did all my research. For the first time ever, I researched all the candidates to find out who I was actually going to wear for. Right. Yep. Did a little work there. So just my little, this is regardless of which way you want to go. I mean, although, Trump. Anyway, vote for Trump. But your other stuff, though, is definitely do a Google search and just say, like, Hendren versus Dylan, like doing the last name versus last name of the candidates. And then you can find some articles and find some information so you can understand. Because I've never really understood, like, local elections. I've never paid any attention.
Well, our local stuff around here, like, I mean, I predominantly go Republican, but around here I'll vote for several Democrats because they're not for our local cult that owns this town, so. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a few things.
Local cult, meaning the Word of Faith Church. All you gotta do is Google them bastards and you'll find all sorts of shit about them. They're crazy as hell.
Like, for real. For real. Well, we wouldn't live in a boring town, would we?
No, God, no. No, I moved out here from wacky-ass friggin' California and moved to wacky-ass Rutherford, North Carolina, where the whole town's run by a cult. So, just my luck.
Oh my God, that is hilarious. You guys keep asking your questions, whatever you got there, and we are happy to answer any of your questions. Oh, well, have you gotten any questions this week that, maybe it's through text messages or emails or private messages that you feel would be a good thing?
Not that I can recall.
Okay.
No, nothing. Nothing.
Because you spend as much time on the phone as I do.
Oh yeah, especially Mondays.
Yes. Monday is phone day.
Which I just got a message, and Dale Timms needs a Dyno tomorrow because he thinks his motor's down on power. So.
Wow.
Or he's got a problem in the car. So that's the advantage of the chassis dyno. You can find out whether you got a problem in the car or with the engine by going on a chassis dyno.
So what are in that particular situation, what is going to be the first thing that you check?
Well, number one, I mean, we know an average of what a thing should make at the rear tires. Mm-hmm. Depending on the engine that's in it and the combination that's there as far as, everything else goes. Carburation, headers, fuel. So there's an average where we should know where it should lie, it should run at. We've found everything from bad transmissions to bad rear ends to, one each of everything in cars on the chassis dyno. So.
Well, and are you also then looking too? You're seeing like the air-fuel ratio, of the exhaust.
We're measuring all that stuff.
And it's because of that you can say, hey, well, it's not really an engine issue.
Correct.
Let's start looking through the drivetrain.
Quickest and easiest way. If you think you have a problem, then chassis dyno is the quickest way to find out if you do.
Gotcha.
Or where it is.
Now, Kirk is making a very valid point. He says, if it's not the engine, it's got to be the shocks. Damn shock guys. It's always the shock guy's fault. Are you kidding me? Like, what are you saying?
Well, number one, it's always the engine guy. But what happens is us engine guys go, you know what? I'll bet your shocks are fucked up. You need to go call your shock guy. So it just kind of gets the heat off of us for a little bit.
I feel like you're leaving out the carb guy.
Well, I mean, sometimes the engine guy is the carb guy, so we blame the shock guy for everything.
Oh, okay.
And if that doesn't work, then the shock guy goes, hey, you know what? I'll bet you need to call your chassis manufacturer because you got something screwed up in the car somewhere.
Yeah. Dave says, Dave noticed that, you mentioned in California, he says, that explains it with no southern draw.
Right.
So we don't have southern draws.
Right.
I grew up in Iowa, in Minnesota, so both of those. Spent a lot of time in Idaho, so I'm a little late in my timeline to have a southern draw as well. But I've got some words.
I got a few words every now and again.
Yeah, we say y'all. Yeah,
I can redneck it up if I need to, just to fit in with whatever crowd I'm in.
So you bring out the food, because Tori keeps asking me if I've ever tried.
So it's like when I go to Pittsburgh and I go from saying y'all to Ewans.
Yeah. No, but Tori's been asking me if she's been trying to get me to try liver mush. I think I can't get past the name.
Oh, God. That's the most horrible thing.
I don't know. I've never tried it. I eat some pretty weird food, so I'm not opposed to trying.
Yeah, my buddy
Donald.
Donald's at the bar the other day, and somebody gave him pickled okra. He's like chowing down on pickled okra at the bar. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, okra's not really my thing.
No.
It is unlike that. Okay, so Gary's got a question. He says, off the wall question. We go to a cruise in about every weekend. I love the smell of racing gas. Is there anything I can mix with the gas to get that smell and not hurt the engine?
Hang on.
We go to a cruise in about every weekend. I love the smell of racing gas. Is there anything I can mix with the gas to get that smell and not hurt the engine? So he wants his car to smell like race gas.
Like race gas, not pump gas.
Aren't there some of those scents?
Yeah, there's some scents that are available. What would come to mind would be like a grape scent. Mm-hmm. They're widely available on, I think Summit and Jegs and all them sell different kind of fuel scents.
Speedway probably does too.
But yeah, I would put a scent in there.
Yeah.
Back years ago, when we were running the 85 and lacing it with methanol, we were using scents to try to cover up the smell. So, yeah. So there's plenty of scents that'll give it a race gassy smell. I mean, a lot of really good race gas, honestly, to me, smells like grapes. But
interesting.
Of course, those tire prep.
That's a whole other conversation.
little Lambert Blue, and might want to put that on your tires, and you really fit in.
Oh my God! Try not to get me in trouble. You said the words tire prep on my show. Let's see. Alton's asking, do you have a forum where everyone can get a trusted used 602 and 604s? No, there's no forum to get trusted 602s and 604s.
Basically, if you find something that you're looking for used, you need to really research it. As far as if it's a Crate Racing USA engine, for instance, they're going to have a build certification number on it along with the seal numbers. So you can usually go to the Crate Racing USA website, research who actually did the engine last, because that'll be updated, weekly as far as who did the engine last, and then from there you can pretty much a lot of times call the engine builder and say, hey, do you remember building this, and blah blah blah, when it was actually built, things like that.
Yeah.
Because, I get guys that call, I had a guy call, I think it was last week, was like, yeah, I got this buddy of mine, and he wants to sell me his engine, said it was only run 4 times, and you guys just freshened it, however long ago. Well, I looked it up, and it was, in 2016. So, there's just...
Yeah. Yeah.
He wasn't a very good buddy, apparently.
Apparently not. Oh, so Kirk says, so I'm looking into this whole cult thing you speak of. What the hell? That's some crazy stuff.
See?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a whole book about it. We're not even making that up.
Yeah, there's... Yeah.
Now back to fuel scents. Dustin says, I use some of those fuel scents, and I swear it gummed up my carb.
It can, probably, depending on what it is you're using.
Yeah.
There was several different... the stuff we were using was actually meant for methanol.
Oh.
So it's you might want to research what it's designed to do. Now, what I can tell you is you don't want to spill it in your race car trailer.
Oh. Grapes for days. Huh?
No, I had my friggin' trailer smelled like bubblegum for a year.
Oh
and
gosh.
not good bubblegum, like off bubblegum.
Oh. Oh my gosh, that reminds me of
It wasn't even like Bubble-Yo, it was Hubba Bubba.
Oh my god, I was just gonna bring up Hubba Bubba. I remember that gum when I was a kid.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was great for all 15 seconds of its lifespan.
2 chews, and then it was like rock hard, and you had to spit it out. So.
Right through with fruit stripes.
Yeah.
Freaking loved that gum, but it was gone. It was just done. It was dead. All right, Chris mentions, he says, nothing smells better than methanol. I love going up to places like Indiana where everyone runs methanol fuel.
I agree. I grew up racing with methanol, and nothing smells better than methanol.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it always sucked when you'd get in like a wreck, and then the methanol would like spill out of the carburetor onto the intake manifold, and then go all steamy, and then you couldn't breathe, see, do nothing. So
nothing like steamed methanol for.
It can be some pretty horrible shit. But yeah, I love methanol. That's why I like going to a good sprint car race.
Jim says weed scent is nasty. I'm gonna agree with you there.
Hey, on the upside, you could run that weed scent in like Colorado and California and shit. And
apparently, Vegas is
you probably have a bunch
popular.
of stoners chasing you down the street.
Very popular in Vegas from everybody that I've talked to that's been to Vegas in the last couple of years here. It's like, man, I mean, that was the big takeaway.
Right.
Not like, oh, I saw a cool casino. The takeaway is, oh my God, the entire place smells like weed everywhere you go.
Right.
So that's kind of an interesting little factoid. Man, we're getting close to an hour here. And, I've got some really awesome dinner cooking.
Well, you can keep talking. I'm going to pee and have a beer. So.
Oh, well, I was going to just wrap us up here, Steve.
All right.
Yeah, so if you want to just wrap us up.
Let me pee and then get a beer, and then you can wrap it up.
Oh, my God. So I got another 8 minutes of my life to fill. I'll just wrap this up for us. Well, unless you've got some blast words. But actually, I'm going to just go ahead and wrap it up regardless. And I want to thank you.
What I do want to do...
What?
What I do want to do, if you're going to wrap it up...
I am.
Then what I do want to do is tell everybody that Jackie Boggs died last night.
Yes.
So my thoughts go out to his entire family, because that's a big loss for the racing community.
Yes, it was a big shock too, and I haven't found out about any of the details, so we're really sorry to report that for sure. And our thoughts go out to the Boggs family, and that we're so sorry for their loss. But I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you for being part of the show. And for anybody watching live, if you want to see the replay, you can find us on Facebook or over on our YouTube channel. And if you'd prefer to listen, or if you're catching this on the podcast, this is part of the Racing Insiders podcast at RacingInsidersPodcast.com. We'd really love it if you'd hit that subscribe button and subscribe to our podcast. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being part of the show. And we'll look forward to seeing you next Sunday on the Unsealed Show. Have a great week.